Egyptians have been ahead of modern civilization in many aspects like medicine, construction, and whatnot. Logically, many things are still unexplainable that point the way to some extraterrestrial help. Yes, you heard that right. One such artifact was found in King Tut's tomb, which might prove their contacts with the extraterrestrial beings. Let's uncover the bizarre item in King Tut's tomb that baffled the scientists. The excavation of King Tut's tomb chambers overshadows every Egyptian pharaoh by being the world's most expensive tomb discovery. No one knew much about King Tut until the 20th century, but the discovery of his tomb changed everything, and today he is a well-known pharaoh of Egyptian history. Unlike several of his predecessors, he did not become well known for his extraordinary tenure as king, but the discovery of his tomb and the priceless valuables that were hidden inside made him famous. As we all know that the ancient Egyptian pharaohs were buried with the treasures that symbolized their prosperity. The same was the case with King Tut. His burial rooms were filled with elaborate sarcophagi, murals, clothing, jewelry, and valuable stones. One thing that was found in his tomb was such that left the scientists perplexed for years. It was a dagger that could have been out of this world. The son of Akhenaten, also referred to as Amenhotep IV, a strong and renowned pharaoh of ancient Egypt, King Tut was born Tutankhamun sometime around 1341 BC. Even though Amenhotep was a strong leader, his failure to successfully convert his people to a new religion was due to his authority. He is thought to have been overthrown after 17 years in power. After his death, this 9-year-old son succeeded him as pharaoh. When he assumed the throne, Tutankhamun changed his name to Tutankhamun. It would be reasonable to conclude that he had a significant amount of time to lead his people given his age at the start of his reign. Sadly, his reign as pharaoh was brief and uneventful. King Tut died at the age of 19, apparently from gangrene, and for thousands of years his name was forgotten. Every pharaoh constructed his tomb during his reign, but as King Tut died early, it is believed that he was buried in a tomb that was built for another pharaoh. He was consequently interred in a mausoleum that was not designed with him in mind. Not only that, but there was no documentation of him after his death as the tomb was sealed. His grave and its location were lost to history until the 20th century. In 1922, a British archaeologist, Howard Carter, found King Tut's tomb. King Tut's tomb is located in Egypt's renowned Valley of the Kings near Thebes. The world was astonished by the news of this finding. Carter discovered over 5,000 antiques and holy items buried in the tomb. It was one of the biggest tombs ever found in Egypt. Tutankhamun's tomb had 4 main rooms: the antechamber, the annex, the burial chamber, and the treasury room. The tomb was extraordinarily stuffed with gold treasures and artifacts. These tombs were well decorated on the inside with unobtrusive doorways. According to traces recovered within the tomb, it was twice stolen after the 20th dynasty, but the precious items were protected inside since tomb raiders couldn't get to the major rooms. The antechamber, the annex, the burial chamber, and the treasury room were the 4 principal rooms in Tutankhamun's tomb. The gold treasures and antiques in this tomb were incredibly abundant. These graves had tasteful interior decoration and unobtrusive doors. One of the largest rooms in the entire tomb was the first one, the antechamber, which measured 315 square feet. The archaeologist who discovered this room initially thought it was completely covered in gold glitter. There were 3 wood couches with gold plating. Each was fashioned into an animal: a cow, a lion, or a hippopotamus. All of these couches served as shelves for the additional 700 items, including chests, baskets, and pots. Spacious statues, beds, and other items could all fit in the room because it was so large. The strangest items were in the annex, the second room. Although it was the smallest in the tomb, it still contained 280 objects, including food, wine, baskets, pottery, plates, and even board games. The ancient Egyptian game of Senet was also discovered by historians. Senet was very comparable to the game of chess. The burial chamber, or third chamber of the tomb, was a sizable space with exquisitely painted ancient Egyptian pictures on the walls. A masterwork of Egyptian art was Tutankhamun's death mask. The dead body of the king, wrapped in the coffin, was immediately on the mask. King Tut's casket was yet another astounding treasure in the burial chamber. The treasure chamber was the fourth space. Boats, shrine, a gold wishing cup, shield, mirror case, the jewelry item Beatlemania, gold sandals, daggers, spiritual nourishment, musical instruments, and games were all included in it. 3 Tutankhamun canopic jars made of alabaster stood out among the rest as the strangest items. Organs from King Tut were preserved separately in each of these 3 alabaster canopic jars. The heart of King Tut was the only organ left in his body. Astonishing, right? Yet there is more that will leave your jaws open. Carter and his team made a second stunning discovery of King Tut's lost tomb 3 years after the first one. The pharaoh's body was wrapped in layers of cloth, and inside were 2 separate daggers. The king had the first gold dagger around his waist, whereas the second was tied to the king's thigh. The weapon had an ornamental gold handle and an iron blade. While there had already been significant amounts of gold discovered in this tomb, this was the only object believed to be of iron. The presence of anything made of iron immediately piqued the interest of the scientists. Iron was extremely valuable at this time and valued more than gold. Despite having access to a wide variety of metals, the ancient Egyptians did not have easy access to iron. This made scientists scratch their heads for decades. The iron dagger found was an astonishing discovery because the iron usage and smelting procedure started after 500 years of King Tut's death. Not only that, but to everyone's amazement, the dagger was free of rust even after 3,000 years of the king's death. Only a few iron artifacts from this era have been discovered. At first, archaeologists thought the iron utilized to create these artifacts was known as meteoric metal. It was even referred to as the iron from the sky by the ancient Egyptians. The dagger's meteorite origin was probably in the 1970s and 1990s based on earlier investigations. Later, the dagger was put to the test by Italian and Egyptian experts using cutting-edge equipment. According to their research, the blade of the dagger was made of iron, nickel, and cobalt. This composition clearly pointed to an extraterrestrial origin. Even the Chiba Institute of Technology claimed that the metal in the dagger came from a meteorite. High concentrations of nickel and cobalt were found in the iron, which according to their explanation clearly supported an extraterrestrial origin of this dagger. Additionally, this meteorite's precise composition matched one of the called Karga that was found 150 miles to the west of Alexandria. It turned out that a meteorite that fell 150 miles from Alexandria with similar concentrations did strike the planet a little before Tut's time. Another dagger mystery was also answered by the researchers. They discovered that the golden handle was made with lime plastering using an X-ray. However, lime plaster was not known to Egyptians until much later. However, researchers believe that the dagger was constructed in Mitanni, Anatolia, which is now Turkey. The dagger might have come from Anatolia years before Tut was even born. Records show that Amenhotep III, Tut's grandfather, received gifts from the king of Mitanni. These gifts may have eventually been passed down to Tut. This was the history of the bizarre item found in King Tut's tomb that baffled scientists. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, check out other historical videos on our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you don't miss out on such interesting topics.